Like I tell Pivot, please don't high five them in the face. This thing's crazy heavy. How you guys doing this morning? Wonderful. Are you guys ready for the rain that's coming? Yeah. I need some sunshine in my life. Yes. Well, I don't know why I'm trying to sing this morning. Yes, no. God's gonna give us good weather. Me and Kenny actually got to sneak out and golf a little yesterday, and then it started raining on us, and I was like, I ain't quitting. My brother-in-law was on his best score yet, and he's like, I definitely ain't quitting. So we uh we played anyway. So, but the sun come back out, and God is good. So, um, all the time, yes. So this morning, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about putting God first in our life. I told first service it seems easy to say put God first, but when we get down to it, sometimes in the midst of things that are going on and having a crazy, hectic, fast life, sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and we try and get ahead of God, and then we wonder why everything is always a mess, right? Because we try and get too much too fast and we mess up. We fail. And ultimately that's where we get frustrated and we get depressed and we get angry of that things aren't going the way that we wanted, is because ultimately we didn't put him first in our life. And so this morning I felt like, um God was leading me in the direction of bringing you guys a few things to help us in our journey, in our walk, even when it seems hard and difficult, to make sure that we put Jesus first, to make sure that nothing else is ahead of him. And for a lot of people, it means a lot of different things. And over the course of being in Pivot and helping and doing things, I've heard a lot of people say different things about what it looks like to put God first. I've had people tell me, it's just about serving, or it's about going and helping at the local shelter, or a lot of people say it's just about being a good person. I'm like, well, those are just small parts of putting God first. If you're living on just one piece of, I can just be a good person, well, that ain't gonna work out for you. I can just serve and have works, right? No. You got it. There's a lot more involved. It's a lot bigger picture of putting God first in your life than just doing those things. Those things in themselves are awesome, and we cherish everything that we do or that people do for the community and for the church. But when it comes down to it, putting God first is in every part of your life. And it's in your finances, it's in your marriages, it's in how you raise your children, it's in the places that you go, the people that you hang out with, it's in how you present yourself, it's in your language. I always tell the students, like, it's in your music. All of those things come together in the midst of putting God first. If you're just saying I can just be a good person, you're going to be sadly disappointed at some point in your life, or you're going to be feeling like the rug's pulled out from under you when something happens, or when something is going on. You're going to be frustrated and want to quit and give up because you truly haven't put him first in your life. We are God's children, and he is very loving to each and every one of us, and we should always put him first no matter what it looks like. We should have our whole inner being serving him. Our goal should be to have a relationship with Jesus. It's not just about your works. It's not just about being a good person. It's not about what you can do or how much you can just give. It's the whole thing, and having a relationship with Jesus. A two-way conversation, a two-way prayer life where you're just consistently seeking him in the midst of everything. If we are not doing that, we're going to find ourselves struggling. We're going to find ourselves hurting. We're going to find ourselves angry. We're going to find ourselves lonely in the midst of all of that. Putting God first means accepting Him unconditionally. We often have a difficult time trusting God and seeking Him in all things as a society today. But God's love for us is unconditional. So we, having love, should not put conditions on love ourselves. It's not about what we can get out of someone or what someone's doing for us. It's a love that sustains all things. It's a love that no matter what is happening or what going on, we still pray together, we still seek together, we still encourage each other and help each other in the midst of those struggles, no matter what is going on. At any point when you put conditions on things, you are simply stating, if you don't do this, I'm not going to love you. And that's not how God works. That's not how Jesus works. And that's not how we need to operate. That's not putting Him first in our life because that's what He did. When Jesus was here, everything He did was out of compassion and love for us. And that's how we need to be. And that's how we need to set ourselves apart from everything else, is not conditioning our love or just thinking that we can do a little here and a little there and we're going to be okay. Because I'm going to tell you, when you're not getting what you feel like you need, you've based yourself on worldly things. And when that rug gets pulled out, you're going to come collapsing down. And so this morning, I want to run us through a few things that I feel like are going to help us be encouraged and put God first in our lives, in our daily walk when we get out of bed every morning, to make sure that no matter what happens or what the outlook looks like, we are putting Him first. So I want to give us a few things this morning. My first one would be is putting God first when we are afraid. When you are afraid of what the report is or what is happening in life or what someone has said or what your boss said or what your finances look like, when you're in the midst of being afraid, we have to understand to put God first because He's got our best interest in mind. And He's not given us a spirit of fear. He's not forsaken us. He's not left us. He's not given up on us. But we are going to go through seasons where we are afraid of things that are happening, or afraid of what's happening in the world, or we're afraid of who's getting elected, or all of these things that are going on. When we cave into the fear of being afraid, we're simply stating that we don't have enough faith to trust that God does what He does best. So we got to put Him first when we are afraid. He wants us to face our trials and tribulations with confidence in Him. He wants us to battle the things that are going on with faith and confidence, knowing that He will deliver us through it. And when we get on the other side, we're going to be able to tell the people that who are coming through that, you can make it through. I've been there, I've been through that, and I am blessed on the other side because I was faithful in the midst of that storm. We allow God to do His wonders in our lives and to guide us and direct us. And we need to stop relying on ourselves and solely rely on Him and draw our strength from Him in every situation. Is anybody in here afraid of the dark? Just me? Okay, I'm not really afraid of the dark. I just don't like the dark. Okay? I don't like the dark. Maybe it's because I'm supposed to be a light in the darkness, but when it's pitch black outside, I'm like, I ain't going. Anyway, so I love to hunt. I haven't been hunting very much lately, but I guess we're unafraid. So I'm talking about things we're afraid of, and this is something that I don't like is to go out by yourself in the woods and go hunting in the dark. I'm like, you know what? Daylight's at 6:30. I get up at 6:20. By the time I leave the door, the sun's already coming up. But you know what? God's got me. God's got me in the midst of that, right? So anytime I'm in the dark walking to my tree stand, I'm like, Lord, I can't see what's in front of me, but you do. So give me the strength to kick it and punt it out of the way if that's possible. Listen, I'll never forget. We hunted a pastor friend of ours in Columbia. He had a piece of property where Nifong is, where the new Walmart is, and we had permission to bow hunt over there. And I will never, till I die, I'll never forget. I had to walk in those woods in the middle of town after Jeremiah had already went to his stand. I had to walk like another quarter mile to mine. And I remember getting to my tree and I stopped to hook my tree stand around and I hear and I'm like, no, absolutely not. Not happening. I'm like, all I have is a bow and arrow. It's not like I have really good defense, you know. And I was terrified. And I have never climbed a tree with a tree stand so fast in my life. I was like, I'm not even pulling out the flashlight, nothing. I'm strapping this thing in, and I was like, it's literally higher than I normally go because I'm like, I don't know how tall it is, how big it is, what it is. And I remember getting in the tree, and as soon as I felt safe, okay, I grabbed my flashlight out of the bag and shined it down there, and it was a big old raccoon. I was like, instantly, you get that feeling of like, I'm an idiot. And I'm like, I'm so thankful only the Lord's seen that. But I was absolutely terrified. But in the midst of being afraid of things, whether it might be, you know, in the natural of your finances or things that are going on, we got to put God first in the midst of that. We got to give Him control so that we don't feel like we're out of control when things are happening around us. We're not to be fearful of the things that are going on because we got to have faith that God's got our back in every aspect of our life. How can we be afraid when God is for us? How can we be afraid? And just like with that stupid raccoon, okay? I was sure I was shaking trying to get up a tree because I had no idea what it was. But really, God's got a sense of humor, and He was like, just raccoon, man, you know, scared of nothing, you know. So next time I'm out in the woods, I'm climbing that tree stand really fast still. So we got to put Him first when we are afraid. And in times of trouble, we need to put God first with worship in our hearts and praise Him instead of worrying about things. Praise Him instead of fretting. Praise Him instead of trying to take control of a situation. We just got to give it to God. In the midst of that, we got to give Him honor and praise and worship and say, I know this is happening, but I know that you're already moving pieces of the puzzle together where they need to be at. And all I got to do is be faithful to you, and you will see me through this situation, and I'm going to come out on the other side. Secondly, we got to put God first when we are lonely. Has anybody in here been lonely before, felt lonely? Even though you had a dozen friends around you, you feel lonely inside. You feel like you're missing a connection or something's going on that you can't explain in your life. Listen, I'm going to tell you this morning because I always tell the students, I told first service this. In the midst of feeling lonely, you cannot let Satan drag you out and single you out and get you separated from the people who are going to help uplift you and encourage you in the midst of your struggle, in the midst of feeling lonely. Because he will pull you away in order to whisper to you, to tell you what you're not going to be, or how you're not great and how you're not going to achieve anything or go anywhere. Or and he's going to tell you people don't love you or people don't care about you or you're overlooked or you should have been doing something that someone didn't ask you to do. He will tell you all of these lies to keep you from being planted where God has commissioned you to be at. He will keep you from doing God's will because we fall into his lies and get trapped when we feel lonely and feel separated and not have people around us. And that's why, as a church, as a healthy church, when someone's struggling, we need to come together and we need to encourage each other, uplift each other, pray for each other, text each other, ask each other what we're doing or how things are going, and be an encouragement to those people around you. I've had a lot of people tell me before, you know, that oh, I don't feel a connection or I don't feel loved or I don't feel like this is going on. And I'm like, well, I've seen you sit in the same spot like 8 different times and not shake anyone's hand or say hello. So I'm like, you need to shake a hand or say hello and intermingle and put yourself in front of people. And I'll tell you guys, like I told first service, you're never going to make a connection with someone if you do not speak to them. If I did not speak to my wife ever, I would not be alive today. I'm just kidding. I don't think she would do that, but no, she wouldn't. I'm just kidding. But you've got to get out, and we feel so alone because, and this kind of stems from the generation that's coming up behind us, is they want to lean on a separation of not being connected to the elderly people or older people, and we're so tied up with video games and Facebook and all of these things that are literally based on fake relationships that they don't know how to have an actual real one. And I say it to the students, but I'll say it to the adults because we do the same thing. And I'm just as guilty of it, of trying to spend time with people. And we're literally like, oh, let me send a text message, you know? And lately with business, I've been crazy busy, and a lot of contractors, we text back and forth and stuff. This first, when we was talking about, when I was thinking about this, it first hit me the other day when I was like, I was texting in the middle of, I don't remember who I was texting. One of the contractors I was texting trying to get something done. And mom asked me a question. And I said, oh, hang on a sec. And it was kind of a lengthy text message. And she just stood there and she's like, who are you even texting? And I'm like, well, it's business, but like as adults, as teenagers, as young adults, we get so wrapped up in these things and Facebook and fake relationships that we don't even know what real ones look like. And so then we get this lonely inside, and we feel like we're not connected. And then when we have to actually talk to someone, we're literally scared to death to say something. I have people like that literally will let conversations pass by because they're afraid if they say something, it may not be funny, or it may not, we might have missed the moment. And I'm like, dude, your jokes are pretty sweet, so just let them fly, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't ever not laughed at something you said, you know? And so when we're feeling lonely, we gotta sometimes just check out from here and check into here, and enjoy each other and hang out with each other and uplift each other in the midst of that. But what we don't need to do is get mad at God when we feel lonely and quit, be drug out, be unplanted from where God has put us at because we have let Satan single us out and tell us we are not connected to where we are. That's what he wants. He's cool if you come in and sit in a chair and warm a seat and don't ever do anything. Oh, he's totally cool with that because you're not effective for God's kingdom. It's when you decide in your seat, I think I'm meant for more. And he sees, oh well, he might make connections, and this might happen, and they might talk about Jesus together, and someone's life might get changed. That's when he's worried about what you're doing. And that's when he's going to start attacking you, and you're going to feel alone, and you're going to feel like things aren't going in place or happening like you want them to be. And we got to reject that. We got to get past that and say, you know what? No matter how I feel, I'm going to stay connected. I'm going to stay planted. I'm going to stay active. And I'm going to continue to put God first in the midst of when I'm feeling alone, or I'm feeling singled out, or don't have anything to do. Listen, there's always something to do in God's kingdom. Always. Always something to do, always work to be done, people to talk to hang out with, places to go, people to visit. You can always find yourself doing something for Jesus. No matter how young you are, how old you are, just get involved and put him first in the midst of that, and I promise things are going to work out. I was scrolling in the midst of talking, sorry. Okay, there we are. I found it. Sorry, I was just all over the place there. Listen, when we're lonely, putting God first in our lives is what we need to do. Have Him fill us. I, Connection with people is good, okay, and it's healthy. But honestly, the void that needs to be filled is from Him alone. Everyone else needs to be placed in after that. And so Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint." Listen, God's going to give us the strength that we need. when we need it. He's going to give you the relationships that you need when you need it. It is our job to put him first in that and to seek him after that. I tell the students all the time in Pivot, especially like during February when we have our Battle of the Sexes month. I'm like, listen, you need to fill your heart with Jesus first because your loneliness is coming from an empty spot that we are longing for him. And when you fill that spot with worldly things, whether that's, drugs or alcohol or relationships, all you're doing is temporarily pleasing the loneliness inside your heart. And you're going to give yourself to relationships and to things that you don't need to be doing. And so when you put him first and you fill yourself with him, he gives you that love, that unconditional love that you can then share to everyone else around you. It's going to grow you. It's going to mature you. I had a good laugh at first service because I told first service as a youth pastor, I would like to see no student date until they're 25 years old. Okay. Yeah. Don't date and no, ever. No, I'm just kidding. And please don't go out to places you shouldn't be at and be looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend. Like, you know what I'm saying? Get yourself right first. Get your heart full of God's love, and then when God is ready for you, He will let you know, and you can pray in the midst of that. I mean, I've told the story before. My wife, before we got married, she had been I was a hot mess, just so you guys know. I mean, some of you probably already know, okay? I knew what I should have been doing, but I wasn't doing it, okay? We're going to leave it there. And so I remember I had a relationship that had ended, and my wife had and her family had been praying that God put the man in their life that was meant to be there. And I love this story because He is awesome and He loves humor, okay? And so in the midst of them praying for that, I literally show up. And I'm like, I'm that guy, you know? Oh, I love her to death. But that was it's an amazing thing to think that even though that I was doing it wrong and I know how God wanted me to do it, my wife, my bless her heart, she had seeked God for what she needed. And in the midst of that, I tell the students all the time, I'm like, when you're ready, God's going to tell you you're ready. And you need to be praying for that and asking God to show you what they look like in your life. Not just kind of like be like, oh well, she's pretty, I should date her, or she's pretty, I should date her, or I like him, he's got a cool hat, I should date him. That's not what it's about. It's about the perfect timing that God has when you've already put him first and you're praying for him to place you in a relationship you need to be in. That's how it needs to be done. That's why I tell students, you are not mature enough to be dating. Period. Please stop. Not to mention, 99% of the time, they're like, I want to date a person in the youth group. I just love them. They're a man and a woman of God. And then they date, and then one person leaves and never comes back. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, obviously, you were not, neither one of you were mature enough. And now one of you is upset that the other one's coming. It's just, I don't know, youth group trials that we go through, right? Anyway, we'll move on. So if you're feeling lonely, give it to God, all right? Draw your strength from one. He's the one that we need to depend on and get our hope and reassurance from. Not from worldly people, not from the people around us. We need to read our Bible, pray to God, and draw our strength from Him alone. Is it nice to get compliments and things? Yes, it is very nice. But we are not to live our life based on opinions of the people around us. We are to live for Jesus and Him alone, and everything else will come after that. Everybody else will fall into place who God needs us to be around and in front of us when that time comes. God is with us when no one else is. When you feel alone, God is in the midst of where you're at. I always tell the students He's already prepared a place. He walks beside you and He walks behind you. He is all around you to encourage you for any direction that you turn in your life. He is there to comfort and to help you in the midst of that. But we are too busy trying to chase relationships that are affirming us here instead of getting our affirmation from Jesus, from getting our affirmation from Him alone. Sometimes the best reaction for us in the midst of our loneliness is to love on God's people, is to be faithful to this building. Listen, when you're struggling, you're feeling alone, come here on a Sunday. Show up, hang out for two services. They're not even the same anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's like literally having two Sundays on a Sunday. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's great. It's refreshing. It's encouraging. You might get two different series, of things happening. And so, if you're struggling and you're lonely, the best thing to do is be around God's people who can help strengthen you and not make you feel alone. Have him in your heart. Hang out with his people he's commissioned you to be around. I tell everyone all the time, I'm like, I am designed to make a connection with so many people in my life that God has put me around. But you guys are the same way. So someone I may not have a for or something that we connect over might be something that you connect over. And so then, us as a body of Christ coming together, we reach a multitude of people because we all have different outlooks and different things that we do and different connections with those people. So we are to all be active in the midst of that and be an encouragement to those around us. My next point is putting God first. I told first service, this one's for me, when we're angry, right? When we in the midst of wanting to, I don't know, throw something, you know? Listen, I am way better than I was. Okay. God has brought me a long way. I remember a time where I got mad. Back, does anybody remember the old iPhone 3G when it first came out? That was a classic. Okay. That was changing things in the history there when those things come out, and they were still super slow. But I remember, just to give you a glimpse of where I've come from, I might have an outburst every now and then because I'm angry over something. But I did throw a cell phone one time, and as students do when they do something dumb and they learn their lesson, I learned my lesson because I throwed a cell phone and it's stuck in the drywall of the kitchen. And in that moment, I was like, that was dumb. I was like, now I gotta fix it. Like, it's a hole. Um, anyway, so in the midst of being angry, we got to put God first. Anger is a sign that something is wrong in our lives and that we need to do something differently. We put God first when we seek Him, and find His direction in our hearts and ask Him to guide us and strengthen us in the midst of that. Listen, being angry will sometimes cause you to spit and vomit on people around you and hurt people by your words and your actions because of the things that you said in the midst of an outburst or in the midst of being frustrated. And I will say I've been guilty with my family over this before because I have a short fuse, and I'm asking God to help me in the midst of that, and to help strengthen me so that I have a little bit longer fuse with my kids. And the thing is, it's like with my kids, they don't start lighting up here. You ever burned a wick really close to so it's a short fuse for me. I'm just kidding. Um, but listen, in the midst of being angry and frustrated over things that are happening in life, or things that are happening in the world, or maybe you didn't get a promotion, or you didn't get the job you wanted, or you didn't get the outcome you wanted, or things that didn't happen, instead of us getting mad and having outbursts, we need to go to God and say, you know what? Maybe this wasn't meant to be. Maybe this wasn't a moment. Maybe God has something else that He's opening a door elsewhere. And instead of us throwing a temper tantrum like a little baby Christian, we should, you know, we should go to God and say, you know what? I know that you have my best interest in mind. And maybe this is a sign for me to take a step back and think about what I'm doing and where I'm at in order for me to have a blessing to step into the next thing, to move into the next area of my life instead of getting mad when those things happen. It's easy to get mad, right? Am I not the only one, right? Show me your hand. I need to see you guys. So you got my attitudes in here. All right. Listen, we're all gonna have a meeting about attitudes. We're gonna start a group. That's not a good idea. We are not doing that. Listen, I have your names now. We're gonna put each of you in a solid group together, myself included, so you can be accountable. Okay. Maybe we'll just all get together. What's those new rooms they have where you go in and you destroy all the stuff? It's what? A rage room. God, I need that in my life. Maybe we'll have a pivot rage night. I don't know. I should probably pray about that one. Should pray about that one. Listen, anger is a sign that something is wrong in our life. It's a sign that we are not positioned where God needs us to be at because we're easily angered in that. We need to be slow to anger. We need to give it to God when we are frustrated. When we feel like things aren't going as planned, we need to give it to God and say, you know what? You got my best interest in mind. We put God first when we choose to forgive others and to receive forgiveness. I told first, when we hold on to the things that are keeping us bitter, that are keeping us angry and frustrated, all they do is pop back up in our life. And then we are angry and mad at the people that are around us because of something that's happened before that has been brought back to our attention. Satan is really good at using those things in your life to keep you bound to anger, to keep you bound to unforgiveness and not forgiving the people who you need to forgive. And when you don't forgive, you're not hurting them, you're hurting yourself. You are literally keeping yourself bound, keeping yourself frustrated, and keeping yourself from doing what God asked you to do because you can't let go of the things that happened. You can't let go. You can't let go of the door that is ready to be closed for you to step through the door that God is asking you to step into. The door that God is asking you to move through. We aren't moving because we can't let go of this. We can't let go of what used to be. What what we felt like was great or what we felt like God was doing then, but God's like, I want to do something new in your life. You're a different person. It's time for a different mission. It's time for a different thing to do. But we're like, no, 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 no. This is familiar. This is what I had. This is what I remember. I can't let go of that. But then when we get down to it, we can't pass through the next door because we're tied to that. And then it keeps us angry, it keeps us frustrated, and keeps us from doing what God needs us to do. And we got to let go of that bound up anger and frustration that keep us from doing God's work. We got to move forward. We got to forgive and we got to receive forgiveness from other people around us. Listen, we can't let anger keep us from having a healthy life. We can't let anger keep us from having peace. We can't let anger keep us from having an unconditional love for the people around us. If you're not forgiving someone who has hurt you in the past, how are we going to have a pure and clean heart to love the people around us? This happens a lot in marriages where you're hurt by somebody over something, but yet you have an expectation that you can't let go of that you then project on the people that you're with. It goes the same thing with kids. You've been through something as a child that you project onto your children. And we have to let go of those cycles that we travel through in order for us to move forward and put God first when we're angry and when things don't go as we have planned. Listen, sometimes things don't go as planned because God doesn't want you to be there. God doesn't need you doing something you don't need to do. He's got a specific plan and purpose for you in that, and we need to work for that. Someone changed my EQ. Is it weird as a sound guy? I know that. Is it a little ringy? Here, I can fix it. Give me a second. Do 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 do. Somebody's really good at that. He's adjusting and I'm readjusting. So we're gonna go dip the lines, dip the lines, dip the lines. That should make it better. Okay. Anyway, where were we? Back to my notes. Sorry. All of it. Okay, so putting God first when we're angry. I will tell you, I'm working on it. I'm doing my best. I'm asking God to help me in the midst of that. My four children, three of them being boys, test my patience, right? Even Eden, being a redhead, will test your patience. And I'm like, Lord, I didn't pray for patience, but I guess we're working on it along with my anger, okay? And so I got to learn myself to give it to God. And I was thinking this the other day when I have sometimes I get frustrated. It's I've been had like a crazy day or a busy day and things are going on that I didn't expect or things are happening that I didn't expect to happen. And then I'm trying to figure out the moment from where I try and take that and give it to God and say, what do I do in this meantime in order not to project my anger somewhere else, which might be in the family or when I get off work or have had a rough day. And so I'm in the process of working on that. I'm just be honest with you guys this morning to try and work through those things. But it takes us saying, you know what, I have an issue, I have a problem, I want to be better, and praying that God show me how to be better in the midst of that. That is putting Him first. That is putting him first in the midst of saying, I know I have anger issues. I know that I don't do the best that I could in that. But where no one's perfect, but with God, he can push us through all of it. He can help us through every bit of it. Okay, so my next one is putting God first when we are grieving. Putting God first when we are hurt, when we're frustrated over something. We, 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 we can't quit. We can't throw in the towel. We got to put him first in the midst of that and put our hope in God, or put our trust in God. Grieving in itself is not a bad thing. We have to do it as Christians, whether it's through, and I talked about first service, whether pastor losing his dad, or it's about losing a promotion, or it's about losing a friend that was close to you, or someone you points of grieving that we're going to have in life. But if we give in to the temptation that Satan will put on you that no one cares, and he will use that to then make you angry. He will use that to make you feel lonely, and all he's doing is twisting and manipulating in order for him to put you in a place where he can single you out and tell you you're not going to amount to anything. And so anger is a huge part of grieving. We get angry, and shock and denial sometimes are part of being angry and grieving in the midst of that. But we don't want to experience these hard things in life. Does anybody in here like to do hard things? I do not. I'm glad no one raised their hand. It's not easy sometimes to do the hard part of life, but when we give everything we have to God, he'll help us through that. When we put God first, we bring him into our suffering. He shows us the way, the truth, and the life, and he shows us joy. He shows us happiness. He shows us the friends and the family that we have around us to help encourage us and uplift us and give us strength in the midst of all of that time of grief and trouble and trials in our life. Putting God first in our grief is allowing him to control our circumstances. God has a good plan for each and every one of us. And when there's hardship, when there's frustration, we need at that time to put hope in him and trust in him. I tell the students all the time, don't make something permanent over a temporary situation. Do not do it. Do not jump to conclusions and do something you cannot undo because you were angry and grieving and mad in the midst of something that happened in your life. Because you can't recover from some of those things. We got to give it to God no matter what it looks like in our life. Give him absolute control in our life. Don't quit when it's hard. Press on. Worship on. Give it all to Jesus. And then my last point this morning is putting God first when we feel rejected. When we feel all of these other things and then you feel rejected, it just adds a multitude of things in your life that are hard to overcome. We feel all of these different pressures in life and then we enter rejection in. Has anybody been rejected before? It's not an easy thing to go through. It's not an easy thing to say, you know what, God, I feel like no one cares, but I need to give it to you. That's hard sometimes. But we need to understand we need to live our lives to please God, not ourselves and not the people around us. God is first. He will put the people who need to be in front of you to help encourage and uplift you. But we do not need to live life having affirmation and being pleased by man, because you're not always going to have good relationships. You're not always going to have good encounters. You're going to have things that happen that frustrate you, that make you mad, that make you feel lonely. All the things that Satan will try and use to keep you from fulfilling your purpose for Jesus. This doesn't mean that we need to completely disregard our choices and how they affect the people around us. I'm not saying to be mean to people, not one bit. You are to be loving, kind, caring. But honestly, when it comes down to it, if someone doesn't like you and they have something to say about you, it doesn't matter. You know what matters? You're chosen by God. You're a son and a daughter. You have a purpose and a plan in his kingdom. You are loved by him. What does all of those other things matter? Is it, I said it's nice to get a compliment. It's nice to have friends, yes. But I need the friends in my life who are real friends, who Jesus has commissioned to be there. So when I'm going through something, they can encourage me. And when they're going through something, I can encourage them and say, hey, God is good. He's got you, He's on your side. That's what we need to have in our life. That's how we need to put Jesus first in the midst of that. When we feel rejected, say, you know what? It's fine. If you don't like me, it's okay. I'm going to be okay anyway. I'm sure there's someone in Missouri who don't like me. Someone said, what? Yeah, it's hard to believe. I got the jokes. You know who don't like me? Sam Ponder. You know why? He's a cop. Just kidding. If you want to see why people like me, Sam Ponder has like a dozen videos in his cell phone of times we weren't working. Just kidding. Always work hard, guys. Okay. Do your best. But we are to be kind and gracious to those people around us. It doesn't mean that when I say don't worry about it doesn't mean to be mean. It just means be yourself. If they don't like yourself, they can take it up with Jesus. They can take it up with him. They can explain to him why they don't like you, and he can say, well, I created them that way, so you're gonna have to like them anyway, okay? It's exactly how they're meant to be. Don't be fake for people, and don't be a fake friend to people, okay? Our worth doesn't come from the approval or disapproval from other people. There's always going to be someone who is disappointed with your choices. There's always going to be somebody who has something to say about something that you did or said. Okay? And when we start looking to those people to get answers, we start taking our eyes off of Jesus and putting him first and putting our trust in the people around us. I try not to do that when I'm teaching. It's hard not to, especially with my wife. I'm like, I felt like it was good. Was it good? She's like, it was great. I'm like, praise Jesus. She said it was great. I was like, are you sure? You know what I'm saying? But it's just the worldliness that you're trying to find out. Did it feel like I did what God asked me to do? But when it comes down to it, as long as I do what God asked me to do, nothing else matters. As long as I speak what God asked me to speak, or I treat people how God asked me to treat people, things are going to be all right. It's putting him first in our life. Don't worry about what other people think about you. We put God first when we seek his will instead of worrying about the opinions of other people. Our approval comes from God. Okay, it comes from God, and he has already accepted you. He already had loved you. He already has plans for you. He already has a ministry for you. He already has a husband or a wife for you. He has all of these things for you. We need to stop chasing what the world wants us to chase and just start chasing God, and he will put you where you need to be at. He will put you at the job you need to be at. He will help you open the business you need to open. He will bless those things when we solely chase after Him in the midst of that. Part of being mature in God is not letting others discourage us from what God is calling you to do. If God has called you to be planted in this house, don't let anyone else tell you, you don't need to be planted there. Okay? Be like, well, you didn't have a conversation with God that I did. I'm here because He asked me to be here. He commissioned me to be here, and I'm going to stay here until He says, your work is done. That's how we need to be. That's how we put Him first. When we start taking the opinions of other people as what God is saying, we start putting our trust in them and not Him. And so we got to put our trust in Jesus and know that where He has placed us at is where we need to be. I'm not saying if God says, you know what, you're to be a missionary in some other country or something, that God's not speaking to you. But what I'm saying is you better be for sure what God is telling you is what God is telling you and not what somebody is telling you next to you because they want to see you leave. They don't want to hang out with you. They're trying to send you somewhere else because that stuff happens. So when we chase the approval of the people around us, all we are doing is skipping and hopping and jumping to different places because we don't find anybody who's an actual real friend in our life. That happens so much with students and with young adults where you chase broken relationships because that's what you know. And then all you ever find is broken relationships because you've never had a healthy relationship with Jesus to begin with. So we have to not worry about feeling rejected and that things aren't perfect because they're not going to be. There's always going to be somebody who's not happy with what decision you've made. Always going to be somebody not happy with what's going on or what's happening. And you got to let those people go sometimes. Putting God first is more about our response that we have to life struggles. Are we, when we are angry, when we feel lonely, when we feel rejected, what does our response actually look like? Are we going to throw in the towel and quit? Pack up our roots, put them in our suitcase and head to the next church, head to the next place, head to the next job, head to the next relationship, to the next marriage? Are we going to do that? Or when we feel like we are having struggles, are we really going to go to God and say, if this is meant to be, show me and guide me and direct me in the midst of this and give me the words to speak and say, and allow Him to help you through your season and situation? If our response is always to quit and move on, you're never going to be planted. Never. That's so much in this generation. A lot of students, and it started so much online, be like, well, if you don't like them, quit watching them. You know, if you don't like it, let's cancel it. That's been a whole thing, and it's still a thing. Like you don't like it, let's sign a petition and get a bunch of signatures and make them stop. Like, how about instead of complaining about things, we just ask God how we should do it in the first place? Let's not respond by quitting and giving up and telling people you're not going to amount to anything. Let's give them to Jesus and say, hey, help them, strengthen me. Help me. I want to pray over them. I'm going to pray for them that God change them, that God use them in a miraculous way and stop complaining and quitting when things get difficult in our life. Because I'm going to tell you, things aren't always easy. It's not always going to just line up exactly how it is. Listen, you're going to go through some struggles. You're going to go through some valleys. You're going to have some mountains that are in your way. But your response doesn't need to be quitting. Your response needs to be Him. Your response needs to be asking God, I need help through this. I need guidance. I need words. I need wisdom. I need patience. I need these things in my life to strengthen me and to help me grow and mature in who you need me to be. And so I don't want anybody in this building to not be putting Jesus first. Sounds easy to say it, but it's a lot harder to make sure that you're doing it in every aspect of your life. You can't just live on, I'll serve one Sunday a month and then I'll do nothing else. You can't say I'll give in the offering and do nothing else. You can't say that I'll show up and I'll make sure a seat's filled and do nothing. It's a picture. It's a whole picture. I've always seen, I've never done it, but I've always seen the picture of the illustrations, all the youth guys doing it, of the puzzle, and everyone has a puzzle piece, and you put the puzzle together. But like it's literally, that's what we are. We are a giant picture, and everyone has a piece and a place in that. And if you're not doing what God needs you to be doing, we're missing out on what God has placed in your life. So many people have callings inside of them that God's asking you to do that we don't do because we stay stuck in bitterness, and we stay stuck in anger, and we stay stuck in loneliness and frustration, and then we get to the point to where we're like, we feel so rejected that we just want to leave, or we want to quit and give up. And God's saying, no, if you just put me first in the midst of that, I will help you through it. I will put you in front of the people you need to be in front of. So put him first no matter what. Listen, I'm gonna tell you, you can run from me, you can run from your pastor, you can run from your family, you can run from your parents, you can run from everything. But you know who you're not gonna run from? You're not gonna run from God. You're not gonna run from Jesus. And so we just need to have a mindset to say, I'm going all in, and I'm gonna put him first in every aspect of my life. And not quit, not give up, not throw in the towel when it's hard, but give it to him each and every day. Why don't you guys stand up and I'll get ready to close out. Listen, God's going to get a hold of you and set you on the path he's designed you for. And so I don't know in second service in this building who God's tugging on your heart, but I know in the midst of this, someone's struggling with loneliness or rejection, or if you're like me and you battle with praying with God, asking him to help you with your anger. Listen, today is a moment that God's commissioned for you to let it go, to be free from it, to be encouraged that there is hope, that with everything God is possible. And it might be something that maybe I didn't have on my list, but God's put on your heart this morning. Maybe you're battling some form of something else that you are putting first before God, and God's telling you this morning, let it go. Do not put it before me. Do not make it an idol in your life. But I'm telling you, this is your moment this morning to get free and to let God be the change that you need in your life. Maybe it's a change that breaks the cycles that you've been going through. Maybe you feel like you're good for 6 months, but this issue Satan puts back in front of you of anger or loneliness or rejection, he's putting back in front of you. I'm telling you, today is the day to be free and to not pick it back up and stop the cycles in your family and in your life, to break those curses that you're going through. And so I don't want to leave this morning without having that opportunity. So I'm going to have Andy play a song in just a second, and I want us to take a few moments. If I could have some of the altar team come around and you can pray with me, but I want to spend some time seeking God for what he can do in your life, for the change that you need. No matter what that looks like. If, like I said, if I didn't say it and listen, God already knows what's going on in this building. He already knows what's going on in your heart. And so if he's already placed it there, it's not for you just to say, I'll just live with it. It's for you to say, hey, he's revealing it. He's ready to deal with it and take it out of your life. And so I'm going to have Andy, if you want to play that song, we're going to move into the altar time, and then I want to pray and dismiss after we're done.